Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining HMR, another event on Facebook Live. I'm Health Coach Rick, and I'm joined by fellow health coach Ara. Ara, how are you tonight?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm super excited to be here.
Oh, I'm thrilled. I'm totally thrilled that you're here co-hosting with me. Thank you so much. Yeah, just about you for 1 second. You've been with a clinic, the HMR clinic in Portland area since it opened, and you and your team have just had quite an impact on people's lives. The weight loss, of course, but also just health improvements, quality of life. And we're going to hear about that from our guests. Tell us a little bit about our guests that you were so kind to invite, and they were kind enough to join us for this conversation.
Yes, I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm super excited to be here with Ashna and Linda, two of our participants who started in phase one with us and are now both in phase two. It's been amazing to be a part of their journey for this time, for both in phase one and phase two. It's been absolutely fantastic. We were just saying before we came live that Ashna started phase one in October of 2020. So here we are, in this moment in time, bringing it all forward, October 2022, and in phase two of the program. And she started in phase two in August of 2021. And she and Linda are synced up in phase two. Linda joined phase two in September of 2022 and joined phase one in our program in July of 2021. And what I have to say about these two incredible women is that they have had the most consistent data from the beginning of the program. And every single week, I was blown away by their high level of commitment to staying in the box, to meeting their minimums, and their incredible physical activity. Anybody who knows Ashna knows that you oftentimes will find her in class on her treadmill, and it is incredibly inspiring. I've heard from people like, who is that woman? What is she doing? How is she doing that? So really inspiring. And then Linda really was a big part of getting people in the water. So physical activity, swimming became a huge part of Linda's physical activity, and those conversations and just really modeling that was an incredible inspiration for all of our patients. So that is a little bit about Linda and Ashna, and I'm super thrilled to be here with both of you.
Awesome.
And
Awesome. Wonderful. Such a great introduction to our guests. Guys, great to have you here. Just to let you know, I've got the comments up. I've got people joining fast and furious. Can't list everyone, but just to list a few. Marsha, see you every week. Christy, Charlie, Kim, Lori, Nancy, Sandra, Deb, Lolita. Hello, Lolita. She literally is in my weight loss class, which is awesome.
oh, fun.
Yeah, cool. I hope I see more people from my group. I told them to come. Val, Melissa, the list goes. Oh, and Dara. Hey, it's great to former co-host with me who's watching. Nice to see you, Dara. All right, so what are we talking about tonight? Well, the theme of the event is game planning for what we like to call the National Eating Season. So we're starting early here. It's just the 20th of October. But let's face it, guys, the National Eating Season starts early. Halloween is when it kicks off. So October 31st, followed by a not so easy 61 days or so. So our goal here, and we're really just kicking it off tonight, is to provide a series of conversations during our Facebook Lives for the remainder of the year to support you to stay on track during this challenging time, whatever phase of the program you are in, whether phase one or phase two. So please make a point to join us for the additional conversations we'll have. The next one will be November 17th, the week before Thanksgiving, for some much needed support and maybe a boost and inspiration. And then also on December 8th to plan for the year-end holidays. So throughout these events, we're really going to focus on two aspects of how to prepare for this tough time of year. One, how to have an urgent mindset. And we're going to ask those of you watching, what have you done to either develop or build urgency around this area of your life or keep it up? So you're part of this, and we're going to talk about it. We want you to chime in as well. And the second part, after an urgent mindset, we're going to talk about identifying successful strategies that you can commit to practicing during these tough year-end holidays. And the reality is mindset, strategies, you really need both of them. Without the urgency, the strategies don't happen consistently. But if you don't have strategies, you can be as urgent as possible, and it will be limited in terms of what you're able to accomplish unless you have some focus in terms of the specific strategies you're practicing. So you really need both of those. So that is the theme. But first, why don't we take a few minutes right up front here to hear from our guests and your experiences in the program. Ara, since you've worked with our guests, I'll ask you to lead this part of the discussion. And I'll just, as you're doing that, just a quick note to those of you who are watching. If you're watching and you hear something that you can appreciate or maybe relate to with your experience in working on lifestyle change and your own weight management, please make a point to comment in the comments section. It really does add so much to the quality of our events when the comment section is alive and active. So I'm asking the audience to really join in on the conversation. All right, so Ara, take it away here.
Sure. I'm going to start with Ashna. I was trying to figure out who to start with, and we'll go with the alphabet, right? So we'll start with the letter A. And Linda, this will give you some time to prepare your answer, and then we'll switch around as the conversation goes on. And I do have some notes here, so if I'm looking down, that's what I'm looking at, my little cheat sheet here. But Ashna, to start off, in terms of thinking back to when you started HMR, 2 years ago. It's kind of amazing to think about that. What areas of your life and health did you most want to change?
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. That's a great question. I think weight was a big one. I think I had been battling for a really long time with weight management. I tried different techniques by taking diet pills, trying a different like intermittent fasting. Nothing really seemed to work, and I was really frustrated. But lo and behold, HMR sort of came to me while I was actually hunting for a doctor, believe it or not, for once I had my insurance with my new job at the time. And it just kind of fell into my lap. And I thought, you know what, maybe this is a sign from the universe or just a sign in general that this is your opportunity to give it a shot. Give it a shot, see what happens. And I definitely was at a point where my weight, even with like the diet regimens that I had tried and trying to implement a lot of physical activity, but the physical activity wasn't really outweighing what I was putting into my body.
Sure.
So I think that was a big culprit. So I think that was something I wanted to change, and I wanted something with consistency. So I could see the results with time and feel like, okay, I'm seeing, from this point to this point, I've lost this much weight, or I've noticed this huge difference in my energy levels or whatever it may be. So I was determined, I think, by that point when I encountered HMR, and I don't regret it actually ever.
Yeah, a lot of motivation right up front there with return on your investment, so to speak. You just, you just said it, seeing those incremental changes, very quickly, and then starting to feel better. And really, I think one of the things that is so incredible to see as a coach is people really living into the lifestyle and really building those skills, and then being so celebratory of the accomplishments and just feeling so good about the experience. So that's awesome, Ashna. Yeah, Rick, go ahead.
Ara, let me add in something real quick. I appreciate you saying, Ashna, that nothing seemed to work before HMR, just because you're very successful in the program. Linda, we're going to hear that you're very successful in the program. And I think it's really helpful for people in the audience to hear that, there may be sort of a shared experience with the frustrations of the past, but that things really can be different. Speaking really to people who might be newer to HMR when I say that. So thank you for just sharing that. And Linda, feel free to lean into those points as well.
Yeah, and Linda, you are on. So I will go ahead and frame the question for you. But thinking back to when you started HMR, what areas of your life and health were you looking to change?
Well, I was kind of the same thing. I had gone actually to have a physical finally, and really didn't want to go in and do it because I knew that I was at my heaviest that I've ever been in my entire life. And like Ashna, I have tried everything, every different type of diet plan. And I'd been successful in the past a little bit of getting down there, but never sticking with it. And I think that's been the huge difference for me, is that I have now had follow through and having coaching with it. And that's been a huge, huge portion, of this program's success, I think, is teaching me the transition and how to continue to be successful, and incorporating exercise with it, because that's not something I've done in the past either. So it's been good to have all of the stuff together, come together, and that I can really see that it's going to be a sustainable portion of my life. So
wonderful, wonderful. So that combined, the combined combination of those different aspects. And I laugh a little bit. Ashna and Linda have both heard people in classes pretend like they have like me on their shoulder, and the voices that I hear that people pretend that I sound like, I'm like, I do not sound like that. So it's hilarious. But I'm like, could we be like a good, like a happy person? And they're like, well, it's not as effective.
But so they're really mimicking it, huh? Like,
yeah. So it's very funny. But yeah, the accountability. Yes, exactly. But the accountability piece, right? That coaching piece, but really guiding you, and you, Ashna, you and Linda, and as Rick knows, you are the ones that are doing all of the work and really putting in all of the dedication and the time and the choice making and building all of those skills to be successful over time. So it's been a pleasure to work with both of you. I do want to circle back. Or Rick, were you going to engage or say something?
No, a lot of new people are joining. I won't take the time to list their names, but for those of you who've just joined in like the last 5 minutes, so glad that you're here with us for this conversation about the preparing for the year-end holidays. Yes,
welcome. So Linda, we'll stay with you for a second, so because I want there to be equity here, right? And this is fun. So you both shared that your first days of the program, of the HMR program, were interesting. You both used that word. And Linda, you said that you said, I'm not sure about this. So my question to you to start, Linda, is how did your opinions, change as you progressed in the program?
Well, I think the very first time I was in the whole group session, I remember after an hour ending the session and looking at my husband and going, I don't know about this, because I felt like I was going to an AA meeting, and because I don't think I knew what to expect, and that people, that you'd be in a larger group and that everybody would be sharing and stuff. And at first I was like, I don't know, but then I realized that that's important, and that everybody that's in the group is in the same boat, and we're all there for the same reason. And then you have seen our group as we've grown, and then like we've moved to phase 2, and we all wanted Era as our coach because she's so wonderful. And so it's been hard to transition to a different coach or anything, and or different people in your group sometimes, because because you become so bonded together, and helping each other celebrate their successes and their failures too, and helping everybody to be successful and continue to grow. And so that's been really a super thing, and sharing different ideas and stuff. And I've gotten to know other people in our group, and we've shared phone numbers, and we text each other outside of the group, and plan some hikes and stuff. So it's been really, really great. So.
Yeah, it's wonderful. A couple things that you chimed in on that I think are so valuable is, yeah, it's a really supportive environment. And I think that is really surprising to people. And, like any supportive environment, whether it's somebody who's challenged, with something other than, managing their food, right? We have to create, as I've oftentimes said in class, there's lots of things that we don't have to have in our lives, right? But we have to figure out how to be in healthy relationship or right relationship with food. And so when you are in a group dynamic and you do have the opportunity to have, that shared reality, makes a huge difference in terms of really being able to feel like you're with your people, for an hour a week, of people who really get what you're going through and are, like you said, Linda, in the same boat. So creating that community is significant. And the other thing that I just was going to mention real quick is you're the common denominator. You also, yeah, you might have different coaches, you might, go through different transitions within the program. And what a huge and wonderful opportunity that is to be able to work with people that bring in, different strengths, and then to be in class with different people and learn from one another. So I love that we've been able to continue to provide that, as a community in HMR. But yes, it is always bittersweet to have those transitions.
Well, after what we learned from you, I will like go to the pool the next morning, and now it's like the gang that I water walk with, I tell them what I learned, and so they get to experience what I've learned and incorporate it into their own lives and stuff. And
fantastic.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So Ashna, to circle back to you really quick, your words were, this program is daunting. So you want to share a little bit about how your feelings around that changed as you progressed?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think when I was sitting in the introductory class, when I first joined, I remember absorbing all the information and just sitting there going, oh my God, what did I sign up for? Like, similar to Linda, I was like, okay, here we go for this roller coaster. And I think the idea of, eating, I was on healthy solutions in phase 1. So the idea of eating the entrees, drinking the shakes, and keeping that consistent rhythm with fruits and vegetables seemed doable. But then there was that just like shadow of, can I really do this? And I think, like Linda mentioned, with the class and with your guidance and just having, everyone be in the same boat, again, it felt like I felt like I had a family that I developed, with this support group. It was just really reassuring when maybe I didn't say something, but one of my classmates would mention like, oh, this week was really tough because of this, this, and this. And I would sit there and go, yeah, me too. What I'm really stumped. Like, what do I do? And then hearing you, Era, provide really valuable feedback that I also now I'm like telling everyone I know, be like, did you know that this fruit and vegetable is good for you? You should have this in your diet. So I'm the one who's now being like, by the way. And it's such valuable information that you've taught us. And then also my classmates have just provided such valuable insight that I think I overcame that daunting feeling. And I was like, yeah, I can do this. I think we can do this. And I think the accountability and just the support that the group provides is so valuable. And I don't think I would be here where I am in phase 2 without all of that, I think.
Awesome. Rick, were you going to chime in?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think you want to hit on some of their highlights of the weight loss experience, but I think I would like to show just a couple of photos for our audience so that they can appreciate the immense work that's gone in here.
Amazing.
So tremendous. And if I could just ask our audience, if you want to shout out a little positivity let's start with Linda here first. I think, Ari, you're going to ask about this, but Linda, what comes to mind for you as you see this photo in terms of your quality of life and any other changes that you could speak to?
Well, it's like I was a person that didn't exercise prior to this, as you can tell there, and never liked my picture taken at all, and had very few pictures by myself, as you can tell, because we've cropped my good friend and my husband out. But
just real quick, amazing. Oh, Linda, you are so beautiful. That's from my dear Candace, who was in my group. You look so great. Really, amazing, Linda. A fabulous transformation. It goes on and on. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
It's okay. But now it's amazing that this is my newest picture hiking. So with my walking sticks. Who would ever dreamt of that? So,
well, Linda, that is exactly where we're going with my little outline that I have here is, two things. So something that you just shared that you're experiencing now at a lower weight that has made it all worth it. I mean, I'm going to guess a big part of it for you has really been your physical activity ability. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, at first I was kind of going, oh, what am I going to do for physical activity? Because I was like, I really didn't like walking, just walking, and it was boring. And then plus just going very far and really huffing and puffing, with it. And, but I went with a very good friend and asked her if she would be kind of my buddy to go to the pool. And we went to the local park and rec and checked out the big Olympic sized pool. And at first I thought, oh, I don't know about this, because that means I have to be in a bathing suit. And but after visiting there and realizing that I didn't have to be in a bikini, or that I was never going to be a bathing beauty, that everybody there was a lot of old ladies, and I was just one of the old ladies, and so it was okay. And I learned that they make wonderful swim capris, long leg swim capris. That's what I wear in the water. It's great. And I have enjoyed buying new ones as I've shrunk. And so that's been kind of fun. And now I feel cute in my suit.
Cute in your suit. I love that. And that rhymes, right? That's a wonderful hashtag, cute in my suit.
So good.
Fantastic.
So, and now I'm hiking with my husband, and that's never happened a heck of a lot. And he's always gone and hiked with our friends when we're camping monthly, and I'm back at the campground, sitting. And this year I went on a 5-mile hike both days, and that's a first.
Wow.
So, amazing.
Yeah.
It's a huge accomplishment.
It was. So
let me showcase Ashna as you ask her some questions here.
Yes, we will put Ashna in the hot seat here.
There we go.
There we are. Amazing.
And again, our audience, please share some appreciation for the obvious hard work that has gone into this transformation.
Another
really
absolutely incredible transformation. So Ashna, I'm really curious to ask you, what was your weight loss experience? And what do you feel made it all work for you? And what is something also that you're enjoying, now at this new weight?
Yeah, definitely. I will start with, please don't mind that I'm wearing the same shirt. It was a total coincidence. In both these photos. The one on the before was taken at Crater Lake, and then the after was taken in Hawaii. So they're very different locations, I realize. But I think, for example, I can actually use the Hawaii photo. That was in Oahu, and it's the Diamond Head hiking trail. And I think when pre-HMR, I would have looked at it and been like, I am not walking up that. I don't think I can do it. Because Linda, like you shared, I didn't like the walking part of huffing and puffing and hearing myself huff and puff. It made me feel really self-conscious, because I'm like, I can't even go up these 10 flights of stairs, or this flight of stairs without panting and heaving. But then, it was a very emotional moment for me when I reached the top. I was with a group of friends, and I didn't even realize it, but I was almost running up the path. And then I got to the top, and I was like, I'm not as winded as I thought. Whoa, is this what it's like? So I think for me, that is when it hit that, I have the endurance, and I've been walking in my neighborhood. I live in a very hilly area. So, because of that, I've been building my endurance. And that moment of reaching the top and smiling all sweaty in that photo was when I really realized that, okay, this is it. I have worked so hard. I've built the muscle. I've built the endurance. My bones are sitting here and they're like, thank you. This is so lovely. We can also enjoy. And I think also medically, pre-HMR, I do now still have stenosis in the lower spine. And I did suffer a lot more what was considered chronic pain pre-HMR, but then now post-HMR, my pain is very rare, just so rare, unless I tweak something while doing a weird exercise and thinking that I'm the next Iron Woman, that way, which I'm not, I know, not yet, but
not yet,
not yet, but it's been such a transformational journey. Just even noticing that the pains that I had, the aches and pains that I had 2 years ago are barely even a whisper now. So I think that's when it really solidified that I did it, and I'm still doing it.
You used the word transformational. It's several people in the comments use that exact word, and you need to read the comments. They're just similar to your comments about your work, Linda, just over the top. The appreciation is coming through in spades here. Thank you to our audience.
Thank you so
for
much.
being authentic and just appreciating the work that both of our guests have done. It's wonderful.
Amazing.
All right. So are we ready to move into the main event here, Ara? What do you say?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's get some game plans in place here.
That's exactly right. We are now going to talk about game planning for the national eating season. Officially, at least by our view, starts on Halloween and goes right through New Year's. Tough time of year, and it can be tough for a lot of reasons. The bottom line is just so easy to gain weight during this time. Just to underscore that point, if I could just share a couple of headlines. Time magazine, the annoying truth about holiday weight gain. I think they are suggesting that just the fact that it exists is probably what's the most annoying thing about it. And then these other two articles refer to a more recent study that looked at weight gain across the globe during this time of year. Holiday weight gain is a worldwide phenomenon. Harvard Health Publishing reports. Los Angeles Times. People all over the world celebrate holidays by gaining weight. We were kind of joking, the four of us beforehand. I shared with you a graph, which I'm going to ask our audience. Take a minute and just lean in. Hopefully you're at a laptop and you can see this, or at a computer. Might be a little hard on the phone, but such an interesting graph where we're looking at weight gain over the course of a year. Just focus on the orange line. That's the United States. And then the blue line, that's Germany, just for a moment. And go to the bottom and look at November. And you can see that the orange line is a steady climb, no surprise, starting in November, pre-Thanksgiving, it's going up, and then obviously at Thanksgiving, and then you can just see continuing right through January. But guys, we were sort of wondering what's going on with Germany during these year-end holidays. Sounds like it must be pretty festive times there. You can see how much that spikes up. And then looking over we will comment on Japan, which is the green line. Interesting Golden Week in Japan. I'm not exactly sure what they do during Golden Week, but it seems like the calorie intake might be a little bit higher than during the other times of the year.
Rick, I can chime in. My speculation on Japan. I lived there for a year and I got to experience Golden Week for myself. And I do remember there being just this glorious like feasting happening throughout the time period, just like, not in a consistent way, but of course. But
yes.
I had the really great opportunity of being with the family there and experiencing their celebrations of Golden Week. And they made just this beautiful array of like handmade sushi rolls and handmade other rolls and just, from their garden, fresh dishes. And it was amazing. So I don't know if that's my experience where I've witnessed it, but I'm not sure if that's like the main, where in that week, it can
skyrocket. Good a reason as any. Yeah. I mean, who knows? Whatever the holiday, and really wherever you are, usually it is focus on food. And that's what makes it so hard. So here's a question for our audience. Please, right off the top of your head, if you could, in the comment section, share, when you think about this time period, starting on Halloween and then the next 61 days and everything that happens in between up until New Year's, what makes it challenging? There are 1,000 things, but what's the first thing that comes to your mind? I'm asking you to populate our chat space, and guys, let's hear talk about it a little bit. Ara, let me ask you. This is not an easy time for anybody. It doesn't matter if you're a health coach or who you are. What is, if you have to say, one of the things that if you weren't careful, the calories could get out of hand and this could not go the way you want?
Absolutely. I think it's an interesting time, especially with things coming. I mean, in general, the holidays, right? Lots of additional opportunities to eat lots of very high calorie foods. So in any way, shape, or form, we are bound to, fall into the gap, as we refer to kind of what's happening in the world around us outside of HMR. In terms of the kind of high calorie areas that we find everywhere. And it's just so food centric. And so I think, you walk into any situation and there's bound to be food there. So for me, a lot of it has to do, and Linda and Ashna are going to know this 100%. I think that the challenge is you have to have a good plan. That's the number one thing. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we're talking about strategies. But I think that, the anticipation of just expecting at this point, that every single event, no matter if it's like the most seemingly non-food related thing, there is going to be food there. And so I think that's the thing, is it's just that mindset of just knowing that even if you just think, well, of course there's not going to be food there. There will be food there, and there will be something that is very tempting. So preparation, of course, as a strategy for this is key. But I think that's the biggest part of it, Rick, is just that we are literally, as we've talked about, in the national season of eating, and every and any place that we go, there is going to be a food element, and more so, I think, than there has been obviously in the past few years when we've been very limited with our social engagements or just bringing food or sharing food in those environments.
Oh, 100%. People are roaring out of COVID and the restrictions with a vengeance, and even around food. Ashna, top of your mind, one of the big challenges, what do you think of?
Yeah, for me, it's all of the holiday limited edition drinks and foods, that you can get at like Trader Joe's or anywhere. Those are the things that tempt me. They'll sit in the grocery store and they're like, hey, you only get this once a year. Today is the day. You might as well eat it. And pre-HMR, I'd be like, oh yeah, it's only once a year. Like, I can do this. And sometimes even now there's that voice in the back of my head that's like, oh, you can have those maple potato chips from Trader Joe's. It's fine. It's just, it's just once in a year. But now I'm like, no, I mean, why would I cave into that when I worked so hard to get to this point, right? And there's so many other rewards versus with fruit. Like I could eat apples and like, a Granny Smith apple to compensate for that. So that's where I'm at. And I know Starbucks, for example, is a huge culprit for being like, there's this holiday drink and this one.
Oh yeah. Hidden calories abound. Linda, before you share what came to mind for you, I just have to represent from our audience, guys. Sweets, number one, Donna wrote that. And Donna, who I work with, I took a note that was going to maybe be an issue. So just so you know, family pressure, surprise food, traditions. Aren't those hard?
Yep.
Traditions, there's just so much emotion attached to them. It makes it very difficult. Volume of food, the amounts are bigger. Parties, different foods than you might be dealing with at other times of the year. And then I hope I get your name right, Achambo, all caps, cookies, exclamation point. Gina, another co-host of mine, ridiculous overabundance, which you were just talking about. And then I will end it with Kevin, sugar here, sugar there, sugar everywhere. So what can you add to that, Linda? What is challenging about this national eating season?
I think the cookie thing is really a very true thing.
Very tough.
I mean, my in November is my birthday, and it starts with Halloween. So not having the candy in here, and because that is just too much temptation. So I sent it to my next door neighbors, since she decorates like crazy, and was sitting outside distributing Halloween candy. And so I said, then I'm not going to be tempted to reach into that bowl when I'm distributing it and stuff. And then doing the cookies, which I really enjoy. It's kind of artwork for me too.
Yeah.
But, especially with dealing with the COVID, as a retired nurse, now what I did is I still made the cookies, but they left my house and they went up to the hospital and to all my coworkers. And so that it was kind of my way of giving them something as they're going through caring for others and stuff. Yep. But also sending them some healthy snacks too. So
it can be so hard to do, getting rid of the food or reducing your exposure to it. But boy, is there anything more effective? If they're not there, you can't eat them. As hard as it is, it's such an important strategy. All right. So we're going to talk about 2 ways to prepare for the national eating season. And we're kind of setting the tone here tonight. And we're going to revisit these themes in November and December. The first is establishing an urgent mindset around staying on track, being clear about that this is a priority for you. And then the second area that we'll talk about is identifying what successful strategies can you commit to, whatever phase of the program you're in, And how much are you willing to commit to those? Because the calorie savings are there and you're able to stay on track when you commit to the right strategies. So let's talk for just a minute here about mindset, guys. It could be really clear about either wanting to change your life, this area of your life, if you're new to HMR, or protect the changes you've made, as so many people who are watching have made enormous changes, as each of you have. Having an urgent mindset, it could mean just the commitment to staying in action with healthy choices, whatever that might be for you, phase 1 or phase 2 during the national eating season. Or the last thing I'll just throw in, it could just be having a clarity about the benefits or the consequences of the different food choices and physical activity choices that you're making during this time of year. So, Ara, where do we want to take the conversation from here? I want to linger on mindset for just a little bit longer and have our guests speak to that.
Yeah, Rick, when you were saying that, the thing that came into my mind is, one of the things we talk a lot about in the program is defining your why. Like, why are you doing this? And what is what are you hoping to get out of this? So having a lot of clarity around defining your why and understanding that your why is going to evolve, right? We're evolving, changing people. We would expect that and anticipate that. And I would say that during this time of year, it's more important than ever to not let your why go out the window and to be really, really committed to what you want out of this time. What would you like this time to look like? What would, your future self or the version of you that you're working towards, what would that person choose? What would they implement in terms of their strategies, their planning, their commitment, their, revisitation to their why, all of those things. So I think that that's a huge piece of it. And that is all, I think, encompassed in something that I have referred to in class before called loving discipline, right? So we have this ability to be really thoughtful in terms of the choices that we make and the strategies that we put in place with thoughtful, compassionate and loving, intentionality and discipline. So I think that's the mindset really that I think we want to work with here, because it's not helpful to be upset about, wrong choices or not supportive choices. It's best to hop back on track and move forward. So thinking about really connecting to that why and letting that guide you.
And which is why we intentionally have that conversation as people watching who are in our coaching, however you may be participating in the coaching, we intentionally have those conversations a lot because you need to be deeply connected to your whys, as you're saying, Ara, if you're going to sustain a high level of healthy behaviors during challenging times like this.
Absolutely.
Linda, what would you say in terms of what has helped you mindset-wise now? We're establishing the mindset first. Anything that you would share that has helped you mindset-wise to keep pushing yourself, maybe when times were more challenging?
I think just, really remembering why I'm doing it and how well I feel now, and that I don't want to go back to that. And, I've kind of established routines in how I eat, and my husband and I have kind of adopted the same diet and more plant-based, and knowing that it's healthier, and just watching, as I continue to shrink and try different things and exercising and stuff, that's really kept me motivated.
Yeah, just a quick comment. Love the expression loving discipline in the comment section, Ara. Ashna, what would you add here? Is there anything that you can share related to sort of building or developing that urgent mindset and how it's helped you've been able to maintain that?
Definitely. I will say when I joined HMR, it was during the pandemic. And while the pandemic obviously had its downfalls and was very detrimental to us, it helped me just hold myself accountable because all the temptations were closed. I was at home. I didn't have the temptation to go out to McDonald's to get a cheeseburger or whatever it may have been. So that really helped solidify that mindset of being like, okay, I'm here. I'm going to stick to, this. I'm going to stick to HMR. I'm going to eat my entrees, get my shakes in, get my fruits and veggies in for the week, get my PA in. And then next thing I knew, it was just part of my normal routine, like Linda was sharing. And I also, like Linda was sharing, don't want to go back to where I was pre-HMR either. And now I even, base my day around my PA. If I don't get my PA in, even if it's 30 minutes, then I'm like, oh, nope, I can't do anything else until I get that in. Or if I know like I have something in the evening, I'll plan to do my PA in the morning. If I have something in the morning, midday or evening, I'll do my PA. And that gives me that satisfaction and that fulfillment that I'm like, great, I'm still doing my PA. I'm still feeling good. I'm still getting the benefits of it as well. And I think that mindset has just kept me going. I think.
So holding some things non-negotiable, it
Yes.
sounds like what you're identifying there.
Yes.
It can be, that's fabulous. I like Tony. It sounds like he's got a soundbite that he likes. He put it in quotes here. I suspect his is, I want to continue to shrink. That's what he wrote. So whatever works for you, whatever helps you to access those whys on a deeply intuitive level, we do need to have that urgent mindset first and foremost. I will just say how easy it is, especially around the holidays, to rationalize doing less than, giving yourself a little bit of a green light around things that are inconsistent with where you want your weight to go. We all know the old familiar, well, it's the holidays. It only happens once. I'm going to enjoy myself, but I'll really get back on it on Monday, or maybe better yet, January 1st. I mean, these are the beginning conversations that lead down that slippery slope that we're all so familiar with. And I just wanted to put a stake in the ground on that, because we all do those things, have those little narratives that allow ourselves to get off the hook, and just being aware of the fact that those happen and that they're inconsistent with what anyone who's watching wants to accomplish during this national eating season. Just recognizing that we all do that might help us to sort of access that urgency around the mindset. I will say, though, once you've got the mindset, you really need the successful strategies. So I'd like to go there, if we could, and talk about what are some of the strategies that have worked best for you in terms of helping to keep you on track. So, Aaron, I don't know if we want to start back with phase 1 or phase 2 and combine it. I'll let you sort of take the lead on where you want to go with that.
Sure. I think we can do kind of a combined approach here. As I started, or as I kind of was foreshadowing in the mindset conversation, the strategy for me is all about planning. If we are not planning, then our experience is going to be reflective of that, right? So our outcome is directly, related to our plan. And, as I've said to many of the patients that I've worked with in the program, things may not go according to plan, right? We have to be prepared for that. But to not have a plan at all is not going to set you up for success in any way, shape, or form. And so coming up with strategies to plug into the plan. So thinking about in phase 1, thinking about through the day, what are the things that you're going to need to put into place in terms of preparation for whatever events are coming up for you. And one of my favorite things, Rick, about HMR is the can-do attitude, right? So yes. When we're looking at a situation where we feel like, oh my goodness gracious, I'm just going to get steamrolled because there's this and Aunt Helen with that and, so and so with all the things. And it's like, great, well, let's think about that environment and let's think about what we can do in terms of preparing to get there, and feel satisfied. So we're less tempted, right, to partake in any of the foods that are happening, or, we come up with, plans all the time to bring our HMR foods with us, to have those conversations, to understand that Linda and Ashna are incredible examples of people who have navigated, social situations very successfully, staying 100% on plan, 100% in the box. And so it can be done. And that's one of the things that I think is a huge benefit of having health coaching as well as the class experience, is to be able to work with your coach to bring up, this is a scenario that's happening, can you help me put a plan into place, so that I can successfully, stay in the box, where the person, when they started the program, was like, just so you know, when this date comes up, I am going out of the box because I have this event happening. And it's like, well, let's put that, on the shelf for a bit and circle back to that when you've been in the program for, several weeks, and you get real protective of your success, right? And so that, to me, I think that planning is the name of the game. Planning for what strategies you're going to commit to and put into practice.
So let's hear about some strategies, guys. Linda, do you want to start us off here with some of the things that really worked for you, whether it was in phase 1 to be in the box? You may be continuing to practicing a number of those strategies now. Take the mic here.
Well, I think the biggest one I can really remember that impacted me right off the dot was I was doing decision free. And so I wasn't even doing fruits and veggies with it. And I was so nervous because I was going on a quilt retreat with my girlfriends down to the beach, and there was like a dozen of us down there. And I remember talking with Era about, okay, how am I going to handle this? And I had my little Tupperware box, and I sat and planned all my entrees and had them all lined up, and I put extra ones in there and protein bars. And I brought my little whisk blender thing with me so I could make shakes, and which I did the minute I got down there, and I had them lined up in the refrigerator door. But then just, thinking, how am I going to do around all this food? Because I know my girlfriends, they overpack for food, and it was everywhere, and tons of cookies and everything. And they made monkey bread, and that was like the killer the very first day. But they all laughed at me, but it helped me. I went, when they had the monkey bread on the counter, I went and took foil and covered over the monkey bread because it was like out of sight, out of mind, And I told them the monkey bread had to not be on this one counter where I was ironing.
Good to you.
Yeah. So it just takes planning, and I stayed on plan the entire week. And, I was down there 5 days with them, and everybody kept then asking me, wow, how are you doing this? And they were all very proud of me, which made me be more successful. And so, just having a buddy and having somebody to be accountable to, is very helpful. So, and now they've seen, because we're in touch all the time, and they've seen where I'm at in my stage of weight loss. So
amazing.
So you advocated for yourself. You practiced some environmental control, even if it was just removing the sight of the foods. Makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and a couple other things, Rick, I was just going to throw in there that I think played a huge role was the strategic timing, right? And Ashna might speak to this a little bit more too. Really making sure that you're not allowing yourself to fall into that vulnerable space of being overly hungry or hangry, which we like to call it. So planning that aspect as well of, the timing, what you're going to have, when you're going to have it, those types of things can go a very, very long way. And sometimes in the beginning of the program, people are like, oh my gosh, that's so much structure. And it's like, well, you know what? It's actually incredibly supportive, and it really is what helps you be successful, staying on plan. Nobody's going to successfully white knuckle their way through, through weight loss. And so, we really need to be strategic and thoughtful in terms of the timing around, intaking food as well.
100%.
So Ashna, do you want to chime in?
For sure. I am just like Linda. I have phase 1, and even now phase 2, I plan. That's even what I wrote on my little sticky note here was like plan. On Sunday, just to reset for the week, when I was in phase 1, I would sit in my pantry and I would line up, what am I having for lunch? What am I having for dinner? What am I having for lunch? What am I having for dinner? And I would just organize it, because visually, if I saw it, I would stick to it and I wouldn't waver. And I even still now do that. Even when I'm doing low calorie swaps in between, at least one meal will be an entree, and then the other will be a low calorie option, just to give myself that variety to see. And I do this midweek and end of week, a little celebration where I have my reward entrees and my reward fruits and everything and veggies that I eat. So Wednesday, it's the chicken barbecue. I love to wrap it in lettuce, make little lettuce coats and wrap it up. And it's like the best experience ever. And I always look forward to it Wednesday and Friday. Like those are my 2 days. If I don't have any wavering social engagements or work engagements, like I'm sticking to that. And I love it because it's something for me to look forward to midweek, to be like, oh my gosh, for dinner, I get to eat my most favorite entree. Great. And then I can add all the hot sauce I want, whatever seasonings I want. And it's the best way to end your week, right? Was with your favorite entree. And even throughout the week too, I would have Monday would be like my, because it's Monday, I'm going to do my not so favorite entrees. On Tuesday, I'll do some of my other favorites. Wednesdays were the best. Thursdays were, Fridays were the best. And then weekends were exploratory. And now too, in phase 2, along with that, because I was in Healthy Solutions, with Era, with your help too, we created this snack routine too, in between of when I would drink my shakes in the morning. I would eat like 3 or 4 fruits in between, have my lunch with all my veggies, then have a couple more fruits, and then another shake in the afternoon, and then a couple more fruits, and then dinner time. So I never felt I embraced that more is better. Although to my shock, I was like, how is this really? More is really better? Everywhere else I read, everyone was like, no, don't eat more, starve yourself. Like you shouldn't.
Oh God.
And I think at first, as part of the daunting overall experience, I remember in class, Arrow, when you were telling us more is better, I remember going, really? So you're saying I could eat more fruit and more of my HMR stuff and it's okay? And I still do that now because, when I'm entering my data in my app, I'm like, oh yeah, look at all these fruits I ate. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize it's like 14 servings in one day and veggies. So
incredible. Wow.
Thank you.
Ashna, what my favorite more is better comment from someone who's been in the program many years ago. I'll never forget it. She looked at me, I was interviewing her, and she had this confused look on her face, and she said, I want to lose weight. Shouldn't I be working on some other kind of math here? Rather better. Oh yeah. So every week we talk about it whenever we do these events and in the program, but boy, it's so counterintuitive. Mm-hmm. But notice the theme here. So Ara, you sort of said it, which is like the whole to do. What can I do? Focus on the positive, the additive things, the things that I can focus on and do. And then you guys all talked about the necessity of planning and really mapping it out. It's just the opposite of willpower. And it's the opposite of hoping that it's just going to work out. That's really what I heard from you guys. So it's sort of like taking the reins. Mm-hmm. And, we talked about the urgent mindset being a prerequisite for these strategies. And I realize we've only hit on the tip of the iceberg in terms of the strategies that you guys have practiced, but it really is part and parcel. Bringing the urgent mindset into this difficult national eating season where people gain weight. That's what we're trying to avoid. You want to keep your momentum going and then building in those strategies as you guys have just so eloquently shared. Really great.
Yeah. One more thing I was going to add in, Rick, is just, allowing for the possibility of a mindset that you get to choose something different, right? We get so into this, idea around the holidays where, we kind of think that there's one way to do things and we fall into those, patterns and those traditions. And I think it's just such an interesting, conversation to have of like, oh my gosh, I actually could choose to do something different. Isn't that an amazing idea? I could change my mind and I could make different choices. And so really understanding that can actually create a very, very empowered sense of approaching the holiday season.
100%. Before we wrap, let me just ask our guests, is there anything else that you wanted to make sure that you shared about your experience in the program? Again, we talked in preparing for this, there are people who are in phase 1, there are people who are in phase 2. We're again approaching a challenging time of year. Just anything else that you wanted to add in before we wrapped up? Achna?
It's really worth it. I hope you all, best of luck to you all. You all can do it. If, I think you all are amazing. Everyone who's listening and tuning in, you all are fabulous folks. And, you're entering this program with fabulous support. And please know that your peers and we are also here and, you all are going to achieve greatness and it's totally worth it at the end. And even now, still, as I'm still navigating, and Era gets all these essays from me being like, can I do this today? Is this okay? What if I did this? Can I do this? So relying on Era, thank you for putting up with all of my essays I send you in our weekly check-ins. So I think you all are going to be great. And it's phase 2, you're still learning. The learning never stops. And I love that about phase 2 too, because there's things that I learn in class every week and through Era, of course, every week. And, it's an unquenchable learning experience, if I could put it like that.
Oh boy, do I agree with that. My HMR anniversary was 33 years last week. And
amazing.
I can tell you the learning never stops. Linda, what would you say to wrap us up here? Any final words?
I think kind of the same thing, you know, just knowing that it's such a great community of people and really sharing. And I love the people that I'm in group with, and that, gosh, we're sharing air fryer recipes and how to use your Ninja Creamy and all kinds of stuff to help you to be successful. And so that's been great. And so I've incorporated fun new kitchen gadgets in my life and how to chop my veggies easier. and but I think you know, that just makes it a normal part of my life. So that's been really wonderful.
Great. I'm just going to share one comment in reference to our event tonight from Lalita, who I work with. I'm a little nervous going into this season, and this info has been invaluable. All caps, thank you. And she's talking to both you, Ashna, and Linda. So, guys, thank you for joining us. Ara, thank you for partnering with me on this. It was a blast, and I really enjoyed it tonight.
Me too.
And
Me too.
I'm
glad we made it happen.
Yeah, 100%. And thank you, all of you in the audience. Thanks for being with us. It's not the same without you guys in the audience. You guys were amazing in the comments section tonight. We're talking about staying on track during the national eating season. Please join us for our event in November on the 17th, and then another one in December on the 8th. Let's keep this conversation going to support that urgency and to continue to cultivate what strategies are you going to commit to during this challenging time of year. We hope tonight's discussion was helpful for everybody. So until then, you guys stay on. We're going to debrief, but everyone else, have a great week, and thanks for joining us. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everybody.